So in this video we're going to be going through how to find fractions of amounts. So I've started with these ones. I will add one more in if they ask for things like a fraction of a fraction, but we'll get to that in a moment. So the easiest way to be able to do these ones is that we always divide the number that you're given by the denominator, so the number on the bottom, and then we multiply it with what number is on the top, okay? So for the first one, we've got a 2 as the denominator, so we're going to do 300 divided by 2, okay, which gives us 150. Now we've got a 1 on the top, so you don't need to do this bit because if you times anything by 1 it will just be the same number, okay, but just so you get used to the method of doing it for the harder ones. So half of 300 is just 150. Okay, and that method can be used for every single question that you have. So similar for this one, we've got a 5 on the denominator, so we're going to do 60 divided by 5, which gives us 12. Now again, because the 1's on the top, we don't need to multiply 12 by 1 because it will give us the same answer. So the answer is just 12. Okay, so I've added a few, I shouldn't say harder because they're not harder, just slightly different. So these ones, if you look at the tops of the fractions, they're not 1 this time, so it will be a little bit more work. So again, we look at the denominator. So the denominator of the first one is 3. So we're going to do 36 divided by 3, which gives me 12. Okay, now this is telling me what 1/3 is. Okay, so 1/3 of 36 is 12. So to find 2/3, we then need to double our 12. Okay, so all I'm doing is multiplying by the top number, which is 24. So my final answer is 24. So by dividing by the denominator, what you're doing is finding one, so for this example, 1/3 of the number that you're looking for. Then you just multiply by how many of those thirds that you want. So we wanted 2, so we multiplied the 1/3 by 2 to get 2/3. Okay, and for D, so we've got 7 on the bottom, so we're going to do 84 divided by 7, which is 12 again. Okay, so that's telling me what 1/7 is. We want 5/7, so we're going to multiply that by 5. Okay, because it says a 5 on the numerator, which gives me 60. So my final answer is 60. Okay, I'm just going to add one more in. Let me go up a tiny bit. Let's say you wanted 2/5 of 1/3. Okay, so for these ones, they obviously look a little bit harder because we're finding a fraction of a fraction. Now, there are 2 ways of doing it. The easy way is just knowing that of means multiply. Okay, so make sure you've done multiplying of fractions. So 2/5 of 1/3 is just the same as 2/5 times 1/3, and then you can just multiply them together. Okay, now this method can be used for the rest of them. So if I do it for A, okay, now this I would only say use it if you've got a calculator. If you don't have a calculator, some of the numbers can get quite awkward and you might have decimals. So if you just do 1/2 times 300, okay, now I obviously don't have a calculator, so I'm going to just do it as 300 over 1. Okay, so if you multiply by a whole number, if you just write it over 1, then you can then just multiply them like normal fractions. So that will be 300 over 2, which is the same as half of 300, which is 150. Okay, so that is an alternative way if you want to do that, okay, which works really good for if you've got 2 fractions.